And I'm going, "I really want that chair, but hey, dude," this is me talking to you. "Hey, dude, I really want this chair. Will you take $2 for it?"
Excuse me, madam. Like, you know, I am Sir Wilbur Pennybottom the Third.
This is the strangest
This
garage
is
sale.
not a chair. This is a throne.
Welcome to Garage Sales Unhinged.
Where the characters are as quirky as the finds.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Jake.
Join us as we dive into the wild world of garage sales, yard sales, estate sales, and anywhere secondhand sales are happening.
From bizarre bargains to hilarious haggles.
You won't believe the stories we've got lined up.
Let's get unhinged.
Jacob, do you like documentaries?
Do I like documentaries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't very confident.
Well, it's blanket. I mean, some of them are like really great. They're like production is fantastic. They actually thought out how they were going to present it. Other ones is just like, hey, here's the thing that happened, and it's kind of put together sloppy.
Okay, so beyond the production value of it, do you like the storytelling capacity of documentaries?
Absolutely, sure, yes.
Cool.
I
This has
yeah,
nothing to do with documentaries. I just wanted to know. I'm kidding. Um, that would be weird of like, do you like French fries? Cool. Let's talk about garage sales.
yeah.
Um,
To be fair, we've kind of done that, but we always find a miraculous way to try like have some really tenuous tie back.
well, also for our longtime listeners, they know this, but we very rarely come to this recording with research or even having told the other person what we're going to talk about.
No idea.
So it's a present and a gift every time that we start recording because we don't know where it goes. Um, all that to say, I was doing a little bit of research ahead of our episode today. And by that, where I start off with all of my research in life is Wikipedia. Um, okay, let's derail this for just a second. Do you remember growing up where we had a set of encyclopedia at the house?
Yes, they were white with, like, blue lettering. There was, like, a blue box on the spine with, like, the number or, like, the letters corresponding to the yes. I remember it was a set, and I remember kinda flipping through them a little bit going, "Oh, those are neat pictures," and not learning anything.
I
But,
r-
yeah.
I really we need to ask mom and dad, where did they get an encyclopedia from? Like, did someone call? Did they do a mail order? Was it a gift?
I mean, you remembered, like, there used to be a thing of a traveling encyclopedia salesman.
I don't think they came out to where we lived though.
No, probably not.
We lived out in a place where pizza wasn't delivered.
Yeah, yeah. It was always a celebration if you saw the Schwann's ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and those encyclopedia, when as a kid, whenever I needed to do a research project for school, I would always go to the encyclopedia to learn about zebras or the continent of Africa. Like, because hi, we're old. We didn't have the internet back then. That was our only source. And we lived, a 30-minute car ride from town, which meant like if I wanted to go to the library, that was mom and dad on the weekend taking me to the library. And then I had to like work with the librarian to find whatever book I wanted. Um, so that encyclopedia was kind of like I guess my first introduction to things outside of our little bubble that we lived in small town USA.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the idea behind that kind of thing. It was a compendium of knowledge, and, we did not have the internet, but you might say we did have access to what probably was more reliable information because of it.
I don't know about that. Part of me's like, I wish we had kept the encyclopedia so I could go back and like read something and be like, that's not factual. That's not how it happened. Um, but it's also I clearly remember at least once whenever I tell mom or dad that I'm bored, I'm so bored, and they'd be like, go read the
Yeah,
encyclopedia.
yeah. And that taught you learned something. You learned never to complain about being bored again.
Or also, if I'm as an adult, if I'm bored, just go read a book. I mean, that's kind of what I do now.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so going back to Wikipedia, that is where I get a lot of my knowledge from these days. So everyone that contributes to Wikipedia, thank you. You are rotting my brain. But I was perusing the resources tab in a Wikipedia page about garage sales. And in that resources tab, they link to a documentary called Garage Sale Documentary.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. So I went on my internet browser and found it on YouTube. So I actually watched it right before we got on this recording.
Okay.
So because I am the habitual multitasker, not only did I watch it, but I also did a workout while watching it. It's an hour and a half long. My workout is not an hour and a half long, it's an hour workout. But um the documentary came out in 2013. It is written, produced, and edited by a man named Jared Witham. Jared Witham is a self-proclaimed um, video, I think it's internet video producer,
Okay.
and so he creates a couple of videos pretty regularly of I'm gonna say, like, it's almost like homegrown videos, the VHS type things, but he still does them today. He's also an artist, so in this documentary, it shows some of his art. So he has actually painted some art from garage sales that he attended when he was younger. But this documentary is actually pretty good. I didn't know what to expect. Um, but he went around. He It was in California. He went around and interviewed some people that were hosting garage sales, attending garage sales, and the whole documentary has one, 2, 3, 4, has 5 different sections in it. And you and I have already talked about a lot of the sections. There were some things that came up in the documentary that I was like, I had no idea, or oh my gosh, that's a really good idea. So I want to share it today.
Okay.
So the 5 sections in this documentary was about community building, one was about the economy, another section was about garage sale etiquette, another one was talking about pricing, and then the last one was about planet and the environment. So how garage sales are actually really good for the environment. Um, so the first section about community, a lot of people already, I think they know this. You and I know this. Whenever you go to your local garage sale, yard sale, you get to meet neighbors that you probably didn't even know you lived near. Um, they were even saying, like, some people see the same folks at the same neighborhood garage sales weekend after weekend, and so they start to build friendships with these people, and it was kind of, like, heartwarming, and, like, yeah, that feels good of just checking in on your neighbors on your regular Saturday garage sale hunts. Um, the next one was the economy, and they had and I wish I should have pulled up all of her information before, but she is a researcher, I'm gonna say historian around, like, the garage sale theme. Um, but I hadn't even thought about this of, like, where did garage sales start from? Do you know this, Jake, before I go off on a tandem?
Well, the figure you have to have a garage. I mean, otherwise,
Do you know Like, do you know when they started, like, what decade? Because
well,
now I
okay,
do. Thank you, Encyclopedia Britannica and this documentary.
garages were more of a thing at some point in American history. It was like after World War II, because like, hey, a car in every garage and everything like that. So at some point, garages became more a standard part of a home construction project. So I'm thinking like 60s.
Close. So, up through the 50s, American household wanted, to buy new. They wanted the shiny new thing. People were coming back from the war, they were building houses, they were getting new appliances in their house, um, new electronics were coming to market, so people wanted to buy new. However, garage sales and yard sales really started to become more prominent in the 1970s.
Okay.
And whenever you think about what happened in the 70s, is that the job market started to decline. People didn't have as much income as they once did. And so then it was they turned it to like, well, how can I make money? And that's I'm going to host my own garage sale, yard sale, whatever it may be. And also I don't have a lot of money, so where can I go get something for cheap? And people would go to those events. So really in the 1970s is what started to bring out the garage sales and the yard sales. And I thought it was really interesting, and also part of this economy talk was uh in the past it was always like, well, the woman brought in the spatula, so then the woman could decide how much the spatula was going to sell for. So a lot of females are behind garage sales and yard sales because they are seen as the homemaker of the house, and they knew what the value of stuff was.
Okay.
So, and also it was a way for, especially for households that maybe they have husband and a wife, it was a way for the wife to make an income without her having to actually leave the household to go and get a job outside
Oh,
the house.
yeah. That ain't happening, not in this house.
Are you planning a garage sale, yard sale, or estate sale and need some help? Look no further than Garage Sale Supply. They provide top notch resources and expert advice to help you host the perfect sale. From pricing tips to promotional strategies, they've got you covered. Visit garagesalesupply.com and make your next sale a success. Um, so there was a lot of discussion around the economy. They also talked about like the whenever we get into like the planet and the environment section of if you're just going to buy a simple coffee mug and you go to big box store, Target, Walmart, wherever, and you buy that coffee mug, the cost to bring that coffee mug to market includes not only the production of it, and it's usually going to be produced overseas, it's including the cost of shipping it to the United States. It's the cost of distributing it from whatever port or airport it gets to, the cost of people, and there's a constant person interacting with every single stage of this one coffee mug to be on a shelf.
Okay.
So it's actually really expensive for the world economy to bring these things where it's like, okay, it's a $8 mug. It's very expensive to bring that to market. However, if you go to a garage sale and you buy a mug for $1, you're actually helping out your local community because then that $1 can help that person pay for bills, get out of debt,
Mhm.
save up for a vacation, send kids to school with all their supplies. So the whole economy and the planet aspect of it is garage sales are really great for your local community. While there is one of the things that the documentary said is that whenever your uh, economy as a country starts to decline, that's when garage sales and yard sales really start to hit off because people need things and they can't afford top dollar stuff. The big the big companies, the Wall Street companies, um, they still have a purpose, but a lot of times they are trying to do it just for a dollar, just to get, pay their stockholders more, that type of thing. Whenever you pay for things at your local garage sale or yard sale, you're helping out that individual family. And so a dollar goes a lot further at your garage sale, your local garage sale versus a dollar at a big box store.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm realizing I'm getting more passionate about that aspect of all of this, is
Mhm.
the whole idea of a, more micro economy.
Yeah.
One that, you have a little more control over how and whether you participate,
Yeah.
and the benefit kind of the knock-on benefits of your participation are more immediate and tied to your community, however you define that.
Yeah.
Um, Whether you choose to buy from big box or Amazon really isn't gonna make any difference, unless those things happen at scale, unless millions of people consistently make the same choice, it's not gonna make much of a difference. But like you said, like, if you go and, like, as opposed to buying a coffee mug at Target or on Amazon, you go and buy it from, a place 8 blocks down the way. Yeah, it might be 2 bucks, max,
Mhm.
but that's one less new item that has to be produced to stock, some warehouse somewhere. That's one less thing that's gonna end up going into a landfill, and that is something that is kinda like recirculating oil
Yeah,
in your engine, and it's good to keep it, things kinda in circulation. I mean, heck, and it's just good for you too because it's like you're paying $2 for that thing as opposed to 8.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of brought home this whole thing of like if you really want to help out your community, if you want to help out your neighbor, go shopping at yard sales and go shopping at garage sales because again, that $1 to them, they get to keep that $1 value that same day. If you pay say $10 for the same item at a big box store, the employees that are working there are receiving a fraction, and I'm talking a tiny fraction.
Yeah.
I almost used, a bad word in that to describe that, but, a tiny donkey fraction, so whatever the other opposite word for donkey is. Um,
Is Mustang? Because the word I think you're referring to is not the opposite of donkey. It's a synonym.
it's a synonym for donkey. So, like, like how you can half donkey a task, they're gonna get a tiny percentage of the money you spent at that big box store as their paycheck
Right.
because the company has to sell extra not this huge amount of stuff in order to pay people their rate. um so yeah, if you spend $1 at your garage sale, you're helping out Sue Ellen at the end of the street versus if you go to Target and spend $10. Well, maybe out of that $10, an employee's only going to see 0.02% of a penny out of that one thing that you bought because the big box store has to sell so much stuff.
Right. Makes total sense. I mean, like, you can actually feel good about shopping
Yeah.
at, a secondhand situation. Yeah.
And also whenever you go to a garage sale and a yard sale, you can hear the whole life story of that mug from the person who's selling it. So you get extra stuff with it.
And
Uh,
I understand there's some stuff like we've talked about it before. There's some stuff like, no, you shouldn't sell it at a garage sale. You shouldn't buy it at one either. So there's going to be times where, yeah, no, Sue Ellen, I love you. I know you're going through some hard stuff right now. I really can't buy the Charmin from you. I'm not. It's not doing that. I say that, but I recently made use of an auction site and I bought a lot of toilet paper.
Hopefully not used.
Not used. That was the great thing. And like I kind of did the price comparison, like, wow, hey, this is actually a great deal. So
Who is auctioning off toilet paper in this economy?
in this economy, yeah, it's in the crapper. So
That would be such a good auction name. It's in the Crapper Auction House.
no.
Um, Okay, one of the section about etiquette, I actually thought was really interesting. I hadn't thought about it before. So there is actually garage sale etiquette. So me as the buyer, someone who's going to peruse through your stuff, um, I I don't want to come into someone else's garage sale and insult them. So let's say, Jacob, that you are having a garage sale, and let's say that we're not related, because I would insult you and not think anything of it because we're related. What you gonna do? We're still related. But let's say that we don't know each other, and I go to your garage sale, and you have a chair that I want, and you have $20 listed on the chair,
Okay.
and I'm going, I really want that chair, but hey, dude, this is me talking to you. Hey, dude, I really want this chair. Will you take $2 for it?
Excuse me, madam. Like, you know, I am Sir Wilbur Pennybottom the third.
This is the strangest
This
garage
is
sale.
not a chair. This is a throne. I'd work on my tongue rolling, but you get the picture.
But it's one of the things that, like, you don't wanna go into a garage sale and insult someone on, like, "Hey, they're asking $5 for this thing, it's really only worth 5 cents," and I'm gonna tell them that, "Hey, you're charging way too much," because it's their treasure, right? At some point, it was their treasure, and now you've come in and just insulted them on what they're trying to do. So, there's etiquette to it of, if you see something you really like, of how do you be polite about the haggling? Um, Also too, the prices that you see on stuff is a starting point. Doesn't always mean that that's what you have to pay. The other thing that this documentary mentioned and the people that they were talking to was, it's expected for people to haggle at garage sales, yard sales, estate sales. You don't always get to haggle at Walmart. So,
Mm,
because the person at the cashier, like the cashier there, they don't have the power and the authority to say, "Yeah, we'll take $5 for this thing."
right.
Um, so
You know,
it's
you
one of those
cry
things.
like, "Oh, geez, man," let let me call up Tim Cook and see if we can shave $70 off the iPhone."
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'll have to run this up the flagpole.
Well, and, one of the ladies mentioned in this documentary, um, that if you have okay, so it's how you position things. If you're actually hosting the sale, it's how you position stuff to help it sell faster and at a higher price. So one of the things that she recommended is, let's say that you have an old cardboard box, like a gift box type thing, or like shoe box. That's what I'm thinking of. You can take that and you line it with tissue paper, like the tissue paper you get in gift bags and stuff. You line that with tissue paper, and then let's say you have 6 glass drinking goblets. So, and they showed it in the documentary that if you put those 6 drinking goblets in this now tissue paper lined box, doesn't mean it has to be the box that they came in, and then you put a price tag of $10 on that box of those 6 goblets, it's likely it's going to sell for $10. A
Hmm,
lot of people, what they'll do is that they put the goblets with all your mugs and and other drinking devices and say everything on there is 50 cents. And
yeah,
and visually, it lowers the value of something that you can actually get more dollars. So, I thought that was an interesting thing of going, I hadn't even thought about that, of just like, I know about, like, the different eye level, like, whenever you're in, I used to work in retail, so, like, you always wanted to have different levels of stuff, so where people are looking at, and because your eye gets drawn to something at eye level. For this thing, it's how you actually present something, and so even
yeah,
if the goblets, I mean, instead of getting, $3 for the whole set, you could potentially get $10 for the whole set.
interesting. And, like, you've got the tissue paper and the box laying around.
Mhm.
Take another moment just to do that. So you're saying the principles of presentation and packaging still apply because you're still dealing with people,
Yeah,
and
and it
so
and
yeah.
it's the perception of, "Oh, this must be a nice thing because I see all 6 of them together, they're in the tissue paper, it must be good quality."
Mm. And it's easier to buy because I mean, like, just, like, mentally, subconscious, I'm going, "Okay, I pick up box, I put in car." If they're all loose and on a table, the first thing you're communicating is, this is a hassle."
Yeah.
It's 50 cents, but do I want these things clanging around and breaking on the way home? Yeah, I'm not even gonna do the 50 cents, I got enough coffee cups. That kind of thing.
Yeah, the whole documentary was actually really interesting because they did talk to people that were in the know about garage sales and yard sales and community rummage
Oh,
sales and
people
stuff.
more qualified than us, you mean?
Very.
Okay.
Um, but, the the guy who actually did the documentary, he had, like, old home videos of him setting up for garage sales, and this was back whenever he used to live with his parents, and, like, in the morning, he's getting ready to start the garage sale, and his mom is off camera, and she's like, "He didn't even tell me he was doing this." And so, apparently, he would do this all the time of just, like, on a random weekend, host a garage sale, and his mom didn't know about it.
"Oh, no, there's an emergency, where's the plunger?"
Yeah.
"Ah, yeah."
Um
I put tissue paper around it and unloaded that thing for $5, so
Well, going back to the community segment, one of the things that they talked about was, a lot of now specifically in this area of California, don't wanna, like, stereotype all of it, but from also my experience, I recognize it. A lot of people that go to these secondhand sales are usually older people, and that is their
hey,
form.
shots fired at anybody that, is listening to this podcast for, like, legitimate reasons, but
Well, congrats to them for finding Spotify or
yeah.
YouTube or wherever we have this thing listed.
Tell your grandchildren that we thank them.
Well, but for them, it is part of their like, it's their I'm gonna stop. It's part of their weekly social interaction. And so they like to go to yard sales and garage sales just for the social piece of it. And if you got a chair, they'll sit down and talk to you. Like they're just gonna hang out. Um, but there's one like community event where they did it every weekend at like a community center. And people there, some older citizens would go there, and that was their weekly get out of the house and see other people. And they may just go and have a cup of coffee and sit there, but that's how they interacted with their community.
That's another aspect of the top, this whole world that I think is pretty cool. Even if like you got nothing to sell, you got no reason to buy, but this is an aspect of it that I think is pretty great is that um it it's become easier and easier for people to not really have a genuine, like a physical sense of community.
Yeah.
That you find it in digital spaces, and that's really not community at all. It's actually kind of divisive. um, Being able to, build those relationships with people that you might live next to, they might just live in the same town, they might live in the zip code next door or something like that. But nevertheless, connecting on that human level,
Mhm.
connecting. Yeah, I'm afraid in person sometimes that really can stink, but it's pretty important. And take away all the talk about a micro economy. Uh, you don't even have to like exchange money to get and give that benefit. I think that's pretty important, and I feel like, you I probably gonna become, like, more important as time goes on.
Yeah. And I think, you and I did an episode last season about exchanging gifts for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we both got some really cool and unique items
Mhm.
that not a lot of people are going to get. And I have from conversations with our family members and with other younger people of like a lot of times people are going to these secondhand sales and these thrift shops to find a very unique piece that someone else out there doesn't have. And so it's how they get to express themselves. They get to show their personality through either clothing or art for their house or something like that. And and again, that money that you spend in these secondhand sales, it is going back into the community that you live in. So I know for a lot of Americans, they want to buy local, they want to buy American. Whenever you go to garage sales and yard sales, while something may have been made overseas, whenever you buy it at these secondhand sales, you are essentially buying American because that money that you spent is
Yeah.
going into that person's pocket so that they can go and do whatever they need to do with it.
Hmm, that's a good point.
Patriotic AF.
When you ask about documentaries, I was really expecting a conversation about murder because that's really all they are anymore. And then you like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and immediately tie this into what we talk about. I was like, oh, you found a documentary about murder it happened at the garage sale.
Well, there's that popular song of murder on the dance floor, and so, like, this can just be murder at the yard sale.
I don't know that song. Don't.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm cooler than you.
No. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you're the one that watched the documentary about garage sales, so not
It
like
was
me.
for
I
research.
have I got a Christmas present, about the history of buttons. So, uh,
Did you?
yes, the history of the button in America, in American culture, and not buttons on shirts, like buttons you push. It's an important distinction.
My brain stopped at this. I don't know how to, like, wrap my brain around it.
I don't wanna go into it, but suffice to say, I'm that makes me cool.
Oh, no, no, no. I don't I think we're talking about a different type of cool, because what you just said is not cool.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that.
Anyway, I just wanted to recommend this documentary to people. Again, if people like garage sales and you like documentaries, it's actually the quality of it. You have to keep in mind it is homegrown and homemade, but I guarantee you I could not have done it better because it's actually pretty good. It's the garage sale documentary, The Last Free American Marketplace. Like I said, it's directed, written, and produced by Jared Witham. And yeah, if people are interested, it's on YouTube. It's free to find on YouTube, and watch it. It's pretty good.
Mm, informative. And a lot of food for thought as to like what you're actually looking at when you're looking at a uh, a setup in somebody's yard sale or garage sale.
I think it's great for people that go to secondhand sales as well as people that want to host their own. It's just a really good documentary to understand where these types of events came from, what the need for them is, and why they're important to our economy in the United States.
It is like honestly, it is kind of inspiring. It's like a lot of people, you know, might be in the press clamoring about like we need to like build or preserve a uh, town square, but they're usually talking in the context of some digital nonsense.
Mhm.
And it's like nuts to that. You can actually just do it, and whether you might make a little scratch on it, you might not, but that's where it's really at. Is actually just like things you care about happen um, in your zip code.
Yeah.
Things that you can actually affect are in person in your zip code. If it's online, probably just a you're being sold a bill of goods. So I'm gonna give this thing a watch, and I'm gonna kinda keep in mind kinda what like, there's a lot more happening when I see one of those neon signs kinda pointing that a garage sale is this way, and I should, you know, stand up and salute.
Or you can do on the neon signs where it's like, "Girls, girls, girls, this way," and
Right.
then put underneath there, "Just kidding, garage sale."
Yeah.
Anyway, that's this week's episode.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Jay. Talk to you soon. Bye.